we go. Hey everybody, this is Brandon from Sparksmith, helping you see and be seen. Welcome to the live stream today. We're going to talk mostly about the 2.0 bars and the exciting new things that we are doing with them. So appreciate you tuning in. If you missed it when the bars first came in, I did a quick live stream unboxing thing with these, as I was all excited about getting them in. We are pushing out orders as quick as we can. We're mostly staying caught up. If you're still waiting on yours, again, we appreciate your patience. We will have those out to you shortly. I think Emerson's almost completely caught up. We got a few stragglers here and there. I myself am delinquent on some cab lights. I know that I've got 4 sets to get built, and I am doing that as quick as I can. That's just some of this stuff kind of takes time. So, because like I've said time and again, I want to get it right. Anyway, we'll take a look at the new 2.0 bars. So even the box, I'm really happy with the box. It feels nice and sturdy. It's got a little side profile view on one side, our tagline "See and Be Seen," then of course the logo. Then on the back side, you got some tech specs back here. When you open the box, if you do like I did, so I did a set of 14s just because that's like the most common size. And this comes sliding out. We've got some instructions, which they are surprisingly professional looking for something that I spent about 5 minutes in Google Docs creating. But I'm pretty happy with it. I think this looks really nice. Hopefully it's easy to follow. If you guys get these in your hands and you read through the instructions and you're like, hey, this could be better or whatever, if you got any comments on the instructions and changes we could make to help make that easier, I'm all ears. Always up for improvements on that. The bars themselves, they come wrapped, so they're not flopping around in there. Just be careful when you're separating them, especially on the end where the wires are. You don't want to cut the wires or anything like that. So take your time with it when you're trying to get these apart. And right away, you'll notice, if you've had any experience with the 1.0 bars, just how much more solid of a product these feel like. They have just a better overall sturdier construction to them, and this was one of the main focuses of these 2.0 bars, was making them more durable and more reliable, keeping the startup animation and keeping the sequential amber function. One functional change that we made is these can run as a solid amber. I'll light them up here in just a minute and show you. But the 1.0 bars, when you apply constant power to the turn signal wire, it would just flash continuously, and so you couldn't run it as a solid amber. These, they will sequence once and then stay solid amber. So we can do things like an amber only bar where it does the amber sequence and then is an amber running light, and it can also flash amber if that's something you want. I'm going to get that put on the website as an option soon. That's for like the cat-eye specific bars and that kind of stuff. Or if you're running it, whatever truck you're running, we can give you instructions or show you how to actually wire that up to run the amber only or the white only. It requires a pair of resistors. We have our slimline resistors that do a really good job of making that happen. So just a great look and feel and design. Where the wire goes in, and I don't know how well the camera's going to pick this up, but where the wire actually enters into the housing is much sturdier, so these things can withstand some wear and tear, and a little more tolerant to being pulled on, because the whole jacket actually goes inside the bar this time, whereas before the jacket stopped and it was the 3 teeny tiny little wires that went into the housing, and so we had sealing issues. The wires would break, stuff like that. These wires are 1 gauge bigger. That was about as big as we could go, just given the size constraints of the bar itself. Certainly don't need anything bigger than that based on how much power they draw. We just wanted a thicker wire so that it's a little more durable and a little bit easier to work with when you're trying to crimp a butt connector on there, or a JST connection or whatever is going to get connected to these wires. We also have the 3M VHB, stands for Very High Bond. It's their latest double-sided tape, and this stuff is stout. You want to make sure you have these bars positioned exactly where you want them when you start to adhere them to whatever surface they're going to, because this stuff is gonna stick. We do, of course, recommend that you prep the surface with some rubbing alcohol or something to clean off any dirt, grime, oil, residue, wax, all that kind of stuff. You want to get a nice clean surface before you try and stick this on. Now, one thing you'll notice is that I had the instructions fall out and I had the bars fall out, and I not have any hardware fall out. And I opened like 3 boxes when I first got them. I was like, they didn't include the hardware. What the? So anyway, what I found was that the hardware pack, because of all the stuff it includes, actually gets smooshed into the other end of the box down here. So the hardware is down at the bottom. It is there, I promise. It's just kind of crammed into the bottom of the box. So voila. And in this pack, you will find that we have 4 black screws, and these are a size or 2 bigger than the screws that come with the 1.0 bars. So they're much easier to work with, and once they seat onto the holes here, they hold it much better, and they kind of disappear into the bar because they're the same color. So those are nice to have. It does include 6 of the heat shrink style butt connectors like we had before, but this time we also included the quick tap style. So the way these would work is you find the wire that you're going to get power, ground, whatever from, and the idea is that you take this and you crimp it onto the wire, and then the metal piece in here pierces the jacket of the wire and makes electrical contact. The issue I take with these is they are not at all waterproof, and they're very prone to corrosion, especially over the long term. These are going to corrode and cause problems. Like, it's gonna happen. If you want to do this method, I highly recommend taking some dielectric grease and kind of filling this cavity before you crimp it onto the wire. So once that's done, if you do use that dielectric grease, that will help immensely with corrosion down the road on that copper wire. So you crimp that on, and then the male spade terminal gets crimped onto the wire here, and then that will get plugged in just like that, and that's how you get electrical contact from the vehicle's wire to the Grille Bar wires. I may make another video about wire splicing and all that kind of stuff, just to freshen up the explainers that we have on YouTube regarding wiring and splicing and that kind of stuff. I did one a while ago, but it's probably time for a refresh on that. So that's kind of a good overview of the 2.0 bars, and just how, in universal terms, that's how they look and feel and work. I'll light this one up. And it has the same style of startup animation that's going to give me trouble because now your clips won't stay on. But come on. So I had too much coffee this morning, and now my hands are all shaky. There we go. So the same startup sequence, nice bright white light. Another change we made on these was we actually tuned the chips to be a little bit more of a pure white. The 1.0s had a bit of like a hint of blue to them. It showed up, especially on camera, it would show up that, you know, they're like this blue color. These, especially in person, are much closer to a pure 5500 Kelvin kind of white, which is a nice feature to have. So then it also has, like I said, the amber turn, which does the sequence when you sequence it, or when you pulse the voltage to it. But if you just apply it constantly, it will run as a steady amber bar. So that's one option that you now have with these 2.0 bars. Yep. Overall, very happy with them. One thing that I was going to announce about these is that we are going to be phasing out the 1.0 option for any of the stuff that we build here in-house. So the 03 to 07 cat eye bars, any of the vehicle specific stuff where we manufacture it in-house and add these to something to add wiring, they're all going to shift to exclusively have the 2.0 used for those setups. So just be aware of that. That will involve a little bit of a price change, and we'll change up the images on the website and all that kind of stuff, and we'll try and get that going as soon as we can. So the 1.0s will still be available for purchase as a universal bar while we still have stock. I don't really plan on restocking them, just because these are so much better. We still have quite a few left of the 1.0s, so they'll be around for a little while. They are going to change. I'm going to change them down to a 1-year warranty. These will keep their 3-year warranty. Yeah, so those are a couple of changes that are coming down the line. Is it glaring too much into the camera for... Okay, cool. I see myself. What else? So, in other news, things that we are doing with the 2.0s that I'm excited to announce is... Hillary, can you grab one of the plug-and-play harnesses? They're in the very top gray bin over there by where Emerson is. Thank you. The plug-and-play harness that I designed for the Cat Eye Silverados, what I've found is that you can use it on a lot more stuff than just those trucks. The good news there is that means that we have a plug-and-play harness available for a bunch of different makes and models. We just have to get an example of that vehicle in here to do some measurements on how far the wires need to go to get from wherever the grill bar is going to go to the output of this harness. And really, it's anything that has a 3157 style bulb for the front turn signals is what I'm finding this will work for just about any truck or car or whatever that has that. Right now, immediate plans are that we're going to have a plug-and-play setup just like we have for the Cat Eye trucks, where it's a complete kit. It's got the harness, it's got the hardware you need, everything to basically bolt it on and plug it in. For right now, I'm looking at 2nd gen Dodge Ram with the big crossbow kind of grill in it. I always liked those trucks. I just thought the body style of it was very cool, especially growing up. I remember when they came out and just nothing like it on the road. They always left an impression with me. I think they're neat trucks, and we're going to create a kit for those. Create a kit for the 07 to 13 Silverados, and we'll have an option for the split style grill and for just the standard style grill for those trucks. Have a guy coming in next week that we're going to do a fitment on an 04 F-150. So we'll be getting into some Fords and some Rams. And even I had Michaela come by with her Jeep yesterday and verified that this harness will also work on the JK Wranglers. So that's a pretty big chunk of vehicles that we can now make grill bar setups for. And once you have this harness on there, you're basically tapping into ground, parking light, and turn signal from the vehicle, and you're getting those. So you're getting power and ground and left and right turn signal as an output in these fairly industry standard 9006 plugs, and then you can plug whatever you want into it within reason. You can't put a couple of 50-inch light bars on this thing; it'll melt the harness. But anyway, with this harness, you're getting plug and play power for accessory lighting. You're also getting resistors that are added in, so that if you want to run LED bulbs in these sockets when you install them, you can do so without hyperflash on most vehicles. There's going to be some exceptions to that. The 07 to 13 Silverado, I think, is one. I remember that one being fairly tricky because from the factory they run double turn signal bulbs in the front and rear, and so it's looking for more than one. It's looking for 2 incandescent bulbs on each side, and so sometimes one resistor is not enough, and we have to play around with it a little bit to figure out exactly what the recipe is there. We'll figure it out, and we'll make that a much more turnkey kind of thing. Wranglers should be fine. Those F-150s, the 04 to 09-ish F-150s should be fine. They didn't have CAN bus stuff that was too picky at that point. Some of the newer stuff, newer like 09 to 19-ish Dodge Rams are going to be a little more tricky because they tend to be very picky about replacing factory bulbs with LEDs. A lot of times you end up having to flash the VCM on those trucks to tell them like, hey, it's okay to have LEDs in here. I have one that we did that. We flashed it, went through that whole procedure to try and tell the VCM it was okay. Everything checked out. The truck still wasn't happy. Ended up having to put halogen bulbs and then a splitter on one side to output to a relay harness, and then the relay harness powered the actual LED bulbs. And the halogen bulbs, I sealed them up in a couple of old projectors and just kind of hid them. So there's halogen bulbs in the truck, so the truck's happy, but we're using that power to switch a relay in a relay harness to power the actual LED bulbs that were in the truck's headlights. It was the only way I could get it to work. And even then, it still had a couple of bulb out things. Just weird stuff on this truck. But the point of that is that that generation of Ram truck can be very finicky to work with. That's actually, that truck and some of the newer F-150s are the reason we made our Troublemaker kit. If you're not familiar with that, it's sort of like this plug-and-play harness, except it uses a solid-state relay from our friends over at Dynamics, and it basically allows you to get power and ground, for whatever functions you're looking for, be it like parking lights or turn signals or whatever, without any additional draw on the vehicle's factory electronics. So the truck doesn't even know that it's there. You're taking all your power's coming from the battery. You're just getting the signal to the solid state relay to power it. And if any of that doesn't make sense, I'd be glad to talk about it at length in another video in another time. What else? The resistors. Yeah, if you were looking for solving a hyperflash type issue, these resistors are a great option for that because they're such a low profile thing. You can fit them just about anywhere. The nice thing about these is if you're just doing it on your turn signal, you can really mount them with zip ties or double-sided tape or whatever because they don't weigh a whole lot. And if it's just on the turn signal circuit, it shouldn't really get very hot because typically that means it only has power when the turn signal is actually activated. So like a pulsed on-off signal is not going to make these things very hot, so it's much easier to mount them somewhere. We also use these, I had mentioned earlier, if you wanted to have a white only function. Can you find me one of these, just a loose one that's not installed? Thank you. And I'll demonstrate that here in a second, basically how we do the white only, or what would be the amber only option for those. Just a little wiring trickery that that we can do to make them be a single color. These are, what else? Yeah, compatible with any 12 volt system. So whether you've got a motorcycle, an RV, truck, boat, car, whatever, as long as it's a 12 volt system, these things will work. If you happen to have like an old, thank you, diesel truck with a 24 volt system, something like that, there are ways to make it work. Email support@sparksmith.com. Happy to help you out. So what we do with this, and I'll try not to get too deep into like electrical theory and all that, but basically in order to make it a single color function, you have to put a resistor like this in line, in series with the light. And so when power goes in, goes through that, and then it goes through the resistor. That it can still be powered while having a little bit of voltage drop across the resistor. And it's a small enough amount that this thing's not going to get hot. Then what that means is that on this ground wire coming out of the bar, you now have a load here, so you're not going straight to ground. So if you apply power to the ground side of it, of the bar, if I can get it to play along, it will actually turn the bar off. And so then basically you're putting all 12 volts just through the resistor. Now, if I was to hold this constant, this will start to warm up. But if you're just doing like a turn signal function, the resistor's not going to get very hot, and you can make it go, and that's what the turn signal will look like. Then when the turn signal stops, you get full 12 volts back through the bar. And as I said on these, we can do it also with the amber. It will do the same thing where it'll sequence with the turn signal, just like that, and then it'll go back to a solid amber once the turn signal has stopped. So, and just to kind of illustrate what's happening here a little better, if we had it, you can see the difference between, I don't know if it'll actually go see it. Yeah, there's not, it doesn't even, the 1.0s you could see it like brighten up a little bit when you apply the full ground to this side of the wire. But anyway, that's one fun thing that we can do with these. Yeah, it doesn't even make a difference. So you're not losing any kind of brightness or anything by using this resistor. It's just there to allow you to have that single color kind of function. And that is something that can be done, again, on any make and model. That's not a Chevy specific thing. That can be done, it's universal. So whatever you're driving, we can make it do that single color function. And I may do a separate video showing just how to set that up if it's not something that we make in-house. Be more of like a universal tutorial kind of video. As always, if you've got any questions about this stuff, or if you have a specific application that you're trying to figure out how to make these work, we're always happy to help. Support@sparksmith.com is the best way to get a hold of us. That way it doesn't really get lost in the shuffle. If you want to give us a call, happy to talk to you. And if you want to text us, please don't, because it will get lost in the shuffle. The shop number is a cell phone, but text messages there just always get lost in the shuffle. So again, email or phone call is the best way to get a hold of us. You can certainly DM us on social media, and we will get back to you as soon as we possibly can. Yeah, so we've got these new 2.0 bars kind of open up some doors for new product development, and that is going to be our focus going into the new year, is getting kits made and listed for different makes and models. So I know people say all the time, we got nothing but stuff for Cat Eye Chevys, and that is true predominantly on the website because I have one, and it's here, and it's easy for me to figure out how things work and how to make our stuff work properly with it. So like cab lights and all that kind of stuff. It's just honestly, it's a convenience thing for me. I do want to do it for other vehicles though, and so like people were asking about the cab lights. If you're not familiar with those, basically we extract the strips out of the 1.0 bars and install those into the cab lights, and they become an animated startup cab light with the option for the sequential turn signals too. It's pretty cool, and I've got some more different styles of cab lights coming that we're going to add a couple of different options on those guys. I was going somewhere with that, now I forget what it was. I don't know. It's been a lot. We appreciate it, and it's good problems to have. We really appreciate everybody's patience with getting these 2.0s out. I'm so glad to see them finally going out to people. We're starting to see them show up on social media, and man, do they look good. And you can tell, for as much as I've been looking at these things and seeing pictures of them from everybody else, like you can tell when you've got the 2.0s in there, like it's just a much more crisp kind of light to it than the 1.0s ever had. So if you haven't gotten a set yet and you're kind of on the fence or whatever, especially if you have the 1.0s, don't forget we have our upgrade program, so that all you have to do is pay the difference between what you paid for the 1.0s and what the 2.0s cost. So you're not paying full price, and it doesn't matter if they're defective, if the 1.0s are defective, or if they're working just fine. You're still going to pay just that cost difference, because to me that felt like the fair thing to do for everybody. This is in conjunction with the over $500 that I gave back to people who had pre-ordered and paid more than what the actual list price is now. So just another way that we like to say thank you and show our love for the community, because the community has shown so much love to us. I know Hillary's been working on the sponsor page. We have quite a few new sponsors out there. Chevy Tumbados on Instagram. Those guys have some killer content, some lowriders out in California. Great looking trucks. We have some guys in Texas, a guy up in Chicago. I'm really bad at remembering names, especially Instagram names. But we will be doing shout outs to them on our social media. So thank you to the sponsors. We love having you guys on board. If you're a sponsor and you're watching this, don't forget that we have a Facebook group for the sponsors. If you'd like to join that, just let me know and I can direct you to it. We can get you in the group. It's just kind of a fun group. It's kind of like what the Instagram group chat started as, but I did not realize that the Instagram group chats are capped at like 41 members. But obviously a Facebook group can grow to sky's the limit. So we wanted to shift it over to where we could be inclusive to everybody and didn't have to say, well, sorry, only 41 of you can come in here, or whatever the number is. So wanted a place where we could all kind of hang out, trade tips on like what kind of cameras are you using, how do you get those good night shots, what do you do for roller shots, like what camera settings on your iPhone do you use to make that work a little bit better. Talked about love life and girlfriends and money and jobs and just real talk stuff, like all kinds of shit. So, you know, if you're a sponsor and you're watching, you want to come be a part of that community, we'd love to have you. Hit me up, DM me, email, whatever, and we'll get you in there. So that's about it. In closing, just on a personal note, and I'm going to post a picture later, my family, I have 2 kids and 2 dogs, and a third dog decided to adopt us as his family over the weekend, and he's freaking adorable. He's massive, but he's still adorable. It's like, imagine one of those squishy-faced bully breeds mixed with yellow lab, and that's him. And he's great. We decided to name him Roy. He's like a 1-year-old, but he's really fun, and so far working out really well. So an unexpected addition right here before Christmas. And what else? Oh, my daughter is 5, and she just lost her first tooth last night, so that was kind of fun. That's just kind of stuff that's going on with me personally. And I hope everybody out there is doing really well, having a good holiday season. I wish you all the best. We will be back. When is our next live stream?
Next week.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to do one next week because the normal rotation would have it fall on the day after Christmas, and I will not be here. I actually am giving my employees an entire week off. We're going to be out of here enjoying time with our families, and I hope you do too. So thank you all for tuning in. Merry Christmas. We will see you next week, and we'll have some more fun stuff to talk about. Thanks, y'all. Oh, that reminds me. Next week, we'll talk about the tow mirrors. We'll go over that next week. Thanks, y'all.